Welcome back, everybody, to the Fighting for Freedom podcast. I just want to say thank you to everybody for all your love and support. You guys have helped this channel grow dramatically. If you could please, at this time, drop us a like, comment, subscribe, share our podcast, turn on those bell notifications, and leave us a rating and good review. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Fighting for freedom, one podcast at a time.
I got him. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to an episode of the pod. Today I got a special guest. I got one of my old homies, one of my old half-sharing rent motherfuckers. Ryan, what up, homie?
Yes, sir. What's up, Vin?
What's up, bro? Long time no talk. How you been,
Yeah,
bro?
it's been a while, man. It's been too long.
Dude,
Too long.
that's the one bad thing about the military is that you get to be so close to people. Like me and you, we were roommates. Like we
hmm
we shared an apartment for a
Well,
whole
not
year.
during COVID. Like we were COVID roommates.
Yeah,
Like,
like so we were stuck with each other.
yeah.
Me, you, and the DoorDash guy
And
were
the DoorDash
fucking
guy, best friends.
yeah, best friends. And then your contract comes to an end eventually. And then
hmm
you move back and you go to Kansas and that's it. It's kind of like we both like went our separate ways, which sucks, because we had
Yeah.
some great times together, but
Well,
I
that's
guess
one of
it's
the
kind of the
things.
military now.
Like, I can't tell you how many people that I've known, like that got really close with. Like, that's the thing with the military is like you do all these like really shitty things together, get really close with a bunch of people, and then PCS out, or you get out, or your buddies get out. Especially
Yeah.
if you make good friends with I don't remember if you remember UT3 Stevenson. Me and him kind of got a
Yeah.
little close, and then like he dipped out. Like as soon as I got to know him a little bit, a year later he was gone.
Yeah, he was a cool
PCS.
dude. Him and Zane, him and Horsemeyer. They
Yeah.
were like those and Minter. They were those three guys that like if I needed like a good laugh or advice or help with a job, I knew who I would go to for all of those because advice
hmm
would be Minter, to laugh would be Horsemeyer, and then just to get around the tomfoolery of the military, I go to Stevenson. I'd be like, yo,
Yeah.
how do I pack this fucking bag?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I don't even want to think about packing an Alice pack, dude. Like,
Dude, why not, bro?
oh, bro. So, dude, trying to fit everything, and then also like, especially like deployment stuff, like, because you're trying to figure out fuck, oh, what all stuff do I need? Especially when I did my first CB deployment, because that was a whole, because like on the ship we had like a rack, we had a locker, and so like there was storage. You could kind of put some extra things in there, but I mean, you know just as well as I do the amount of room that you have in a out your two rollers, Alice pack, and all that shit.
Yeah, yeah. And then they're like, "This is your list of things you have to bring," and I'm like,
Yeah,
"Why the fuck do I need a mosquito net?" And then
yeah.
you don't bring it, and you're kind of like, "Damn, man, this
It
one dude
depends.
got it." Yeah, I know. It all depends where you go and all that good stuff. But
Yeah,
I
'cause
ain't bringing no mosquito net, especially that flashlight they give you. That's like four hundred
oh,
dollars if you lose
well,
it.
dude, that and like the batteries on it last like they're worth dick. Like they don't do any they don't do they last so little. Like you use it like twice. Like especially if you're doing anything during the night. You use it twice and then it dies. And then you gotta go get new
Yeah,
batteries.
yeah.
And I'd rather just buy my own flashlight. Like especially like a rechargeable. Like that's by far superior.
Even my phone flashlight is probably better
Mm-hmm.
than that one. And it doesn't cost. Well,
100%.
I mean, it does cost more than $400, but
Yeah, but
I'm more than likely gonna lose my flashlight before I lose my phone.
oh,
So,
100%.
all right.
100%.
So, so let's backtrack a little bit, right? So, you finish high school, right? And then after high school, that's when you decide I'm gonna join the military, or did you take a nice little break in between?
So I took a year off of high school. So my original plan after I got out of high school was to go to barber college.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
originally. That's what I originally wanted to do. And then a year passes, I'm still working the same job. I don't have dick for money saved. So I'm like, fuck, what do I do? I'm like, well, I need to do something. I need to get out of my parents' basement. So don't want to be one of those guys.
It's cold down here.
Yeah, it's like, oh. But so I'm thinking, okay, maybe the military is a good choice for me. And this is kind of nerdy, but there's an anime called One Piece, and I'm sure some of the viewers will know what that is, but it's got a nautical setting to it. And because I was watching that at the time, and I was going down the list of the things of the Marines, you look at me, I'm not a runner, so I'm not going to join the Marines. The Air Force and the Coast Guard, I feel a little too soft. Army, I'm like, that was just not even I'm not even gonna do that. Same thing with the Marines. And I was like, the Navy feels like a good option. So
That was your only option at that point.
yeah. Oh yeah, because Space Force didn't even exist at that time because this was whenever I first decided to join, that would have been early 2015. So probably the spring of 2015. Met with a recruiter, everything I needed to do, went to MEPS, went up for jobs, went undesignated because the only jobs they offered me at the time was IT and crypto. I had no desire to do either of those things. Too nerdy for me. I wanted something a little bit more blue collar.
Yeah, I get you.
And went undez, and then in December I left for boot.
Damn, you left right in the middle of the winter, huh?
Oh yeah, it was
Wait,
rough.
you
December
went right
15th.
right. Damn, you went right before Christmas.
Yep.
Wow, I would
December
have.
5th.
I would have been like, nah, fuck that, dude. I'll go like let me enjoy my toys for a little bit, and then I'll
Yeah.
go. You know?
Yeah, I was just kind of ready to go, kind of go out and do something,
Yeah,
which
you don't
it
want to
was
waste. You don't want to waste more time.
yeah, it was funny. Like it wasn't that hard. Like I think the holidays after that first one were probably rougher than that first one. Like when I was in boot, like because of the nature of boot camp, it didn't really hit that hard for me. I know some of the guys in my compartment where they were feeling it,
Yeah,
like because we had a Master Chief come through, gave this really heartfelt speech, and just everybody in the compartment was crying. And I was just like, I was sad, like I was feeling somber, but I wasn't like crying. And it
I
was
feel that.
yeah, and then New Year's, we got to do New Year's push-ups. That was fun. Here's Happy New Year's. Put your face on the deck.
I bet
Get
you
there
were
now.
one of the. Yeah, you were probably the first. What was that? 2016.
This was still yeah, this would have been 2016, yeah.
2016. So you were probably one of the first people in the year of 2016 to do a push up.
Probably, yeah.
That's something you can mark on your little bucket list.
Yeah, just check off the box. 2016, one of the first people on the planet to do push-ups.
So you joined the Navy, right? Went to boot camp, but you were undez at that point, right? Like
Yep.
you didn't strike a rate, nothing.
No, so let's do a little explanation of the PAC Seaman program. So
Okay.
there's three variations of the PAC program that you can go into in the Navy. There's PAC Seaman, which is what I was, PAC Airman, and PAC Fireman. So with those three designations, it dictates where you're gonna go. So PAC Seaman, you can pretty much go to anywhere in the fleet as a PAC Seaman. PAC Airman, you're probably gonna go to a squadron. uh, and then a pack fireman. Uh, Again, you can go pretty much anywhere in the fleet because the pack firemen work with like the engineering rates of the Navy. The pack
Okay.
airmen work with obviously the air rates of the Navy, so that's why they'd go to squadron. And then pack seamen. So pack seamen, we predominantly just go into deck department or deck division, which is the boat where the bosun mates work.
Most late. Shout
Bosun
out.
mate, shout out. And so, yeah, as soon as I uh finished boot, went to my 2 week A school, which yeah, it's only you do it's just a basic seamanship course. There's like three tests in a 10-day period. Super easy, like really run of the mill. Most of your training you get is going to be OJT on the job training. Like
Mhm.
the school stuff is it really doesn't matter. But I have seen people struggle even with that.
I believe it.
But there's it's kind of like it's like a was a like a stigma with undesignated are seen uh as dumb because usually like a lot of people that end up doing that, their ASVAB scores are a little low. So what they'll
Yeah.
do is put you in as a pack sailor, and then you can study and work on your ASVAB, retake your ASVAB while you're in the pack program. So when you strike again, when you go to strike for rates, you have a higher ASVAB score to be able to open your list more.
Okay.
Yeah, depending on availability and everything.
Okay. So the whole time that you're a pack seaman, you're just trying to strike your rate. Did RS ever occur to you? Because they cut hair, correct?
Oh yeah, I forgot that they changed the name of that rate.
Oh, what was it
So
called?
whenever I was first in, it was called SH.
Oh, it was a ship handler. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
Eh,
not shit. It was what was the name? It wasn't called. They weren't. It wasn't called ship handler. They were SH.
couldn't tell you.
I could. Yeah, I
Well,
can't remember the name of it, but I can't like the acronym. Yeah, acronym would have been SH at the time.
you're definitely undes, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Undes material. All right.
Yeah.
Well, then you finally do strike your rate, and you end up becoming a CE, correct?
Yeah, so you have to do a minimum of a year before you're up to strike,
Okay.
and it's priority based off of your time in. So the longer you've been in, the higher priority you are in the lists because there's a lot of undes
Gotcha.
that strike for rates. So it wasn't until a year and a half in until I actually struck CE.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then you go to your tech school, your A school, right? And
Yep.
like, how's that like being a fleeter going to a school that you're like,
Uh,
yeah, you guys just joined and I've been in already, so
it's a little frustrating because you go from being in the big Navy having like freedom and doing whatever you really want to do, obviously within the rules set in place by your command.
mhm.
But and then you go back, you're pretty much reverting back to because like on the timeline of things, it's boot camp, A school, go to the fleet or go to your command, and then maybe a couple other schools in between there. But that's kind of like the timeline of most people. But I went from boot camp, A school, fleet, back to A school. So I
Yes.
went back a step, back to all the dumb rules of A school because they're managing all these guys who are fresh out of boot camp and are kind of easing them into the Navy.
Yeah.
Like, but it wasn't bad for me because I think there was so many people in my class that were prior fleet. Like Carnate is a good example. Like Christian, and then um, what was that other dude's name?
I think Doherty,
Doherty.
something like that. Doherty? I don't know.
Well, and then there was Diamante.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
the
was
old
these
dude.
were this was like 6 years ago.
Yeah, so it's hard to remember. Diamante was old, like the older guy too, because
Yeah.
he's straight up old man. He's a good guy though. He's a
He
good
was
guy.
like, just leave me alone. I'm here to get this shit over with and
Yeah,
get the fuck
yeah.
out.
It was funny because he wore those like thick frame glasses too, that kind of made him look older than what he actually. I mean, he was definitely old, on the older side of things.
Yeah, he looks like
Like,
he tried out to be an extra for like The Sopranos, and they were like, "Nah," and he was like, "All
yeah,
right, fuck it, I'm joining
I
the
joined the
Navy."
Navy. Yeah,
Yeah.
like he's like in his four. I think he was in his 40s, but he was already in the Navy as a prior rate, and then he switched over to electrician.
Okay, and
Oh,
then
and
your process after your A school, right? So you graduate, and then you're up for orders. What orders do you end up getting?
so they do this for you guys, you UT guys too. So whenever you're in the A school, you put like your top three of what you would want, and then whatever out of that they just kind of throw you whatever. We didn't really have an option to pick orders, just like anybody else in A school. We pretty much just got treated like every other A school. The only difference is that for us, we are still attached to our parent command, technically, from the command that we left to go to the school. So we're
Gotcha.
still attached to them. So the orders are a little bit different in how they're generated.
Mm-hmm.
So I know a lot of guys that they would go straight from A school to their command, but versus me and Carnate, we went from A school to straight to ECS, Expeditionary Combat Skills School. And then the other guys, they would have to wait to class up. So they'd just be in their command doing whatever. And then a couple months later, or a month later, or even half a year later, they would finally go to ECS.
They get that phone call, be like, "Hey, you're going down for what is it, like a month long or some shit like that." Yeah,
Yeah.
I got lucky, and I actually, me and you rode together. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we did because
yeah,
we got lost in Gulfport. We're trying to figure out where the stuff is in that.
yeah.
What was he, a chief? I think he picked
Uh,
us up in his truck.
yeah, we went to some quarter deck, and he was like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"I don't know." I was
Dude,
like,
we're fucking lost,
"I'm just trying to
man.
find the armory. I think I don't know. I'm here for combat." They told me. Yeah, no, that was funny. And then we you would do ECS for I think it's like a month, and then we end up going to NMCB 5 together, right?
hmm Were
Yeah.
we in the same ECS class?
Uh, I don't think
You
so.
remember CM2 Thomas? You remember him? Short white
Nah.
dude from Kansas?
No, I thought you were the only person who lived in Kansas, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there's not a lot of us.
Do you guys have like a name like New Yorker, like you know,
Just Kansans. I mean, like,
just Kansans?
actually, it's funny. So I saw a guy wearing a shirt the other day. It's like Kansas. It's not that bad.
Hey
I was like,
man, I drove through Kansas, and you know it is nice. It's very nice.
it depends on where you go. Like the part I'm from is not nice. Like it's just like because where I'm from, like the best way to describe it is you remember the Wizard of Oz, the original Wizard of Oz movie? Like at
Yes.
the very beginning, there's Dorothy. It's all black and white, and they're in her little farmhouse, and it's everything is flat, dirt roads.
Yep.
That's like where I'm from.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah. No, it's you make your own fun there, that's for sure. Like,
Yeah. It sounds like a place that like when you grow up in, like you consider it home and you're like, it's not that bad. Like, we've adapted over years to like be okay
yeah,
with it.
kind
But
of.
for
I mean,
someone
I
else to come over there, they're like,
yeah.
what the hell is even
Well, it's all about perspective. Life is all about
Yeah, of
perspective, right? So
course, of course.
the more and more I traveled, whether it was military, even before the military, my own travels, and now post military, like the more I go see the world, the more I realize, damn, where I'm from is a fucking shithole. Like it's not. I'm seeing so many cool and interesting places, and where I'm from just feels like, first off, it's very boring because there's nothing to do. Like there's no like scene of any kind there. Whether you want to, if you wanted to go to the bars, like there's like only like two or three bars to pick from, and even if you did want to go to those, it's not worth going.
No.
Like no,
Are they like divey or
no. I mean they're like, so one of them on like what side of town? That'd be like the east side of town is kind of, it's got a country theme to it,
okay.
but like the only people that you really see in those bars is like a couple varieties of people. A lot of white trash. That's a big one, and criminals. Those are like the two
So
main
it's
ones.
not, yeah.
So
That's a
it's
bar that if you go there, you don't go looking for trouble, but trouble is gonna probably find you,
yeah,
and that's never good. Okay,
yeah, and it's the same pool of people over and over again. So and
yeah,
there's plenty of crime where I'm from. Like
really,
yeah, so it's just the nature of the beast. I mean, there's a lot of blue collar workers in the area, and then so it just kind of sometimes it happens where, and there's two major highways that go through my town, so there's like gang
okay,
activity and like drugs are still a big thing, and then also like the policing of that town has like decreased in the last couple of years. Before I moved there, where I'm from had like kind of a stigma throughout Kansas,
hmm
or like in like at least on the western side of the state, where like if you went to live there, like your family was worried about you because they were like, why would you move there? Because it was like almost like the Wild West. Like there was a lot of crime. And then we moved because we moved there in 98, and but like following years after that it started getting better because the policing got better. So being able
gotcha.
to obviously that they
Well,
correlate.
good thing you joined the military and got away from all that shit.
Yeah, and then
And
I ended up in fucking Oxnard, California.
yeah, which is
Yeah,
kind of
not much better.
no, not really, but it is. it is home for me. That's I have some great core memories, and plus where we lived
Yeah.
was one of the worst places to like live in Oxnard. It wasn't even Oxnard.
I dude,
It was Port Hueneme. It was closer
yeah.
to like the.
Well, I think on J Street where we lived was actually still technically Oxnard. I don't think because like even on our mail it was said Oxnard. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure.
Well, yeah. Anyway, that place was.
Yeah.
That place was the gates never closed on like it was one of those where when I looked at it online, I was like, dude, this place looks
Yeah.
dope. I even sent it to you and you were
Yeah.
like, dude, I'm down. And then
Yeah.
we
Pictures
got
are
there.
deceiving.
Yeah, then we
We should
got
we
there
should
like, what
we,
the hell?
we should have like taken the warning when we sent Trish to go check it out, and then she said all these problems, and I was like, but it was like so close to us coming back. It was like we were kind of too far gone at that point.
And it was COVID, so we kind of just like needed a place to go. I mean,
Hmm.
one of my friend's cars got like not broken into, but like they ripped like the lights off of her Jeep.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I
my
remember that.
our neighbor stole from me.
Yeah.
He stole like shit out of my garage, dude. I remember driving up and I was pulling into the garage and you know, my friend was like sitting in the car with me and holding the tacos and a case of beer. And I'm like, yo, what are these guys doing? I see this old man carrying like this huge look, it looks like a garbage bag, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, what is going on? So eventually I'm like, I don't know, whatever. And then I park my car and I get out and I see our other neighbor just like grabbing a whole bunch of shit too. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on? Little did I know, this old man is stealing my 40-pound weighted vest. This other guy speaks not one word of English and he's stealing my ice scraper from my car. And he has it. And I'm like, why the fuck would you need this, bro? You live in California. It doesn't snow here. Like, obviously these guys stole some shit, and that's when I kind of realized I was like, this old guy, like I didn't really, make any threats or get physical with him. He's just an old guy, and
Uh,
I got
Hen
everything. I got everything
Henry.
back. So yeah,
Henry.
Henry. Yeah, shout
Uh,
out Henry if you're listening.
yeah.
You stole my shit, you dickhead.
I remember when you told me that for the
Yeah,
first
like
time.
every day I would see this guy and he was so nice. He would sit outside and kind of be like the eyes of the neighborhood and
Well, he,
smoke his little weed and
yeah,
just
he's always
just do
toking on
nothing.
something.
Yeah, I used to give like if I ever got food, I would give him like a burrito or like a taco or something, and we would just bullshit and he would give me like life advice. Well, don't take fucking life advice from a thief, okay?
Yeah. Fucking grimy old man, dude.
Yeah, that was just fucked, dude. I was like,
Yeah,
damn,
I
bro.
was like that was super shocking to me because like you said, Henry was such a nice guy. Every time you get like come home and he'd talk to you, he'd always say hi and everything, but looks can be deceiving, I suppose.
Yeah, dude. It was like it's like when you find out like, like one of your good friends just like slept with your ex, you're kind of like, dude, what a
That's fucked.
dick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
right?
fucked,
Like
bro.
that's kind of how I felt. Henry was a good guy. But
Forewarning to the
anyway,
viewers, there's always snakes in the grass, so be careful.
yeah, there's that famous like military tattoo where it's like the hand and
And
then
the
the
snake,
snake biting it.
yeah,
Yeah, well, that snake was, a bad person, so
yeah.
Henry.
Only trust people as far as you can throw them. Keep your circle small. That's the best advice I can tell anybody.
Oh,
Because you
that's
never know who's gonna rat you out or screw you over in the long run. Because people deal with pressure in a multitude of ways, and for some, that is snitching. So be
Yeah,
careful.
yeah. I mean, there is that in the military as well. We've
Hmm.
all experienced that. People
Yeah,
get in trouble left and right. You actually got in trouble
I
in
did
the
get in trouble. I did,
You
but
get
I
in
didn't.
trouble
Hey,
more than once, or did you get in
no.
trouble?
When it comes to actual catching an article, only once. That only
Okay,
happened once.
okay.
Counseling chits and shit like that. That shit doesn't. That shit's fake.
Falling asleep on watch, yeah. Who cares?
Who fucking cares, bro?
So I
As long
want
as the
to I
person
want
with
to
me is
know.
awake.
Yeah, right. So I want to know your perspective of the story because I know tidbits of it. So what happened
Yeah.
exactly?
All right. So, I mean, I went out I think it was a, yeah, it was a Friday night. Went out to the bar. had some drinks, maybe a few too many drinks, and uh, a little pretext to that. So for some reason, my phone was kind of acting up before I was even going out.
Yeah.
I couldn't really like access the inners of my phone, like I couldn't unlock it or nothing, and like the screen would be like super weird. What I
Hmm.
ended up needing to do was do a hard reset, but I didn't know how to do that. But I went out anyway, and I went to the tavern. That was the name of the bar, and had some drinks there, and then I decided to hop back in my car, which is always a good choice.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, and try and figure out how to get back home. And granted, I'm still kind of unfamiliar with the area, so I don't actually really know how to get home.
Yeah.
So I'm driving around for like an hour and a half trying to figure out how to get. Yeah, I got hopped on the freeway. I was going the wrong direction. I was like, fuck, I'm going the wrong way. I pulled off and pulled into this hotel and I asked the guy behind the counter for directions and he gave me directions and I got back on track to going the right way. And as I'm driving on the freeway, I kind of like doze a little bit and like I pull and I hit one of like the concrete medians in the middle and I bounce off and that wakes me up and I'm like, what the fuck? But I'm still going. Like I didn't obviously like crash and burn and still going. And I get to Main Street in Ventura, back like over to Main Street. And then I have my bearings like, okay, I know where I'm at. And I call my roommate at the time, John Manhart, and I tell him like where I'm at. And he kind of like gets me oriented. And then I hang up from him and then I make my way back. And I finally know where I'm going. I get to the intersection of Telephone and this other street. And so I'm like 2 blocks away from my apartment at this point. I'm less than a mile away from my apartment at this point.
You could
But
smell
I
the
pull
leftover pizza in the fridge.
Yeah, exactly. So I pull up to this intersection and it's a red light and I'm waiting. And anybody who knows me, that I'm a sleepy boy. So I will fall asleep at the drop of a hat, whether I like it or not. And this is at 4 in the morning, mind you. This is like at this point, this is at 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
So the couple seconds of me being at that red light was just enough time for my mind to go blank, and then I passed out. And I wake up to a red and blue lights behind me and a cop tapping on my window, and I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
So I pull over and we do the whole field sobriety test. Obviously fail. Here's a little piece of advice. Never do a field sobriety test. Doesn't matter if it implicates you or anything, never do it because they're super subjective at the police's discretion. Never do them. Even if you're sober, don't do it. It's not worth it.
Yeah,
And
just
did
just just blowing the thing. If
Yeah.
you know you're good blowing the thing, or
If
just
you
deny until you go
Yeah.
back to the precinct, and then most likely your score is going to be a little lower.
Yeah, or at least opt for the blood draw. Like if you know you've had a couple drinks and you don't know if you're gonna pass a breathalyzer, opt for the blood draw,
Yeah.
because the blood draw can take hours for them to get organized and get taken care of.
Or just don't drink and
Or
drive.
just don't drink and drive.
Yeah, that's kind of
That's the best advice.
yeah,
So
that's the way that's what I do. But I mean,
yeah, but so yeah, I do the breathalyzer, everything. I blew a .11, barely over the legal limit, and but it's enough to book me. So they booked
yeah,
me, took me in. The cop who arrested me was a really nice guy though. He like before we went inside the county jail, I asked him, I was like, "Hey man, I had one cigarette left in my pack." I was like, "Hey man, will you let me like smoke this last cigarette before we go in?" And like I'm in handcuffs, so like he's like, "Yeah man, no worries." And he pulled my pack out of my pocket, pulled the cigarette out, put it in my mouth, and like lit it for me. And I'm like sitting like in the back of this cop car, like with my feet hanging out the side, hands behind my back because I'm still handcuffed, just like chooching on his cigarette, like, and then having to like, I don't can't flick it or nothing, so I'm just stovepiping the cigarette.
yeah. It was like the most. enjoyable, unenjoyable cigarette you've
Yeah,
probably ever had in your life.
yeah. And then obviously went through booking and everything, and then got put in the drunk tank
Damn.
and sat there till 2 o'clock on Saturday. So it's from like 4 a.m. till 2 in the afternoon on Saturday.
This is like an expensive process too, right? Like when all
Yeah,
this shit goes
well,
down.
cause like so I had my car towed, and then which another really nice thing about them. So I had some of my gear, like I had my vest, my Kevlar, and everything in the back of my car, and I told them that, and like they bagged it up for me, and like because tow companies are very sketchy, they will steal your shit,
Yeah.
especially in California. So they bagged it up for me, and I just had to pick it up from the county office that next day. But so yeah, went to the drunk tank, and that was a very sobering experience because I saw dudes in there on their third, fourth, fifth DUIs, like just dudes. I don't like I never understood that because like that one time was enough for me because I'll never do that shit again.
Like I am not meant for this.
No, yeah, it's just like it's just a mentality thing. But you have to want to improve and want to be better than your previous self. But if you allow yourself to spiral, then you'll end up third, fourth DUI, and then you'll lose your license forever and just not have a good life after that. But we all
Right.
make choices.
Yeah. So when these guys are in this tank, and this isn't their first or their second or even their third offense, and someone like you who just had a really rough night, you're sitting there and you're like, dude, I'm never going to do this again. And it's obviously an expensive process, not at first with even a tow truck, but after the fact, right?
Yeah.
And then just I remember you were trying to get your license back, and that was like pulling teeth. I mean, for
Hmm.
me, it was great because we only had one garage, and if you were in driving, I was like, well, you ain't gonna park your fucking car in the garage. How you gonna get it there? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Oh,
when you tell the Navy, right? Like you told the Navy immediately, you were like, yo,
yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, the thought did definitely cross my mind. Do I call and let them know or do I not? I was like, can I let this ride and then hope that court dates and stuff doesn't conflict with future events? That's never the right choice to make, but the thought definitely crossed my mind. But I
uh,
did, as soon as I got out of jail, I had buddy, you remember McDowell?
yeah,
He picked me up, and I called uh the person who was over me, which was at the time C2 Himes. You remember Himes? Yeah, so I called her and I was like, "Hey, uh I got a DUI." And she's like, "You're not fuck with me, right?" I'm like, "No, this is for real." And she's like, "All right, you're gonna have to call chief, or I'll call." I think she said that I'll call chief, and then not a half hour later, I get a call from my chief, Chief Baxter, and he explains kind of what the process is gonna be. I had to go in on Sunday to go make a statement with UT1 Southpaw. I think was that his name?
yeah, it was like the yeah. You were just following the steps, right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
you end up going through the whole like NJP
Well,
process.
the crazy thing about this is anybody who's been through NJP, it can be a lengthy process. That was not the case for me.
Oh,
So I got the DUI on Saturday morning. On Monday, I got this sheet of like they want me to pack a sea bag inspection because when you have to do that, that automatically means you're gonna go on restriction. So,
yeah,
and then on that Tuesday, I went through my um disciplinary review board, DRB, and then I went to XOI, go talk to the XO, and then I went to Captain's Mass all in that same day. I did the first two in the morning, and I did Captain's Mass in the afternoon.
wow, that was a
Yeah.
that was a speedy process.
It talk about expedited trial. Like,
Yeah,
but I think it partially had to do with me being super upfront about everything and like just saying, yeah, I fucked up. I got a DUI.
yeah,
And at the time I was at E4, got bumped down back to E3. Thank God I was getting paid E4, because if not, I would have been bumped down to E2 again,
Yeah, that doesn't sound
which
too
would have
fun.
that would have sucked. And then, but so yeah, I once Captain's Mass was done, I was awarded 30 days restriction, 15 suspended, half month's pay times two suspended, and a reduction of rank.
I like how
So
you said rewarded.
yeah, well
Usually, usually, yeah,
that's their phrasing. They always you've been awarded this because
yeah.
you earned it.
Like, thanks. Yeah,
Thanks.
I'm
Appreciate it.
so yeah, so thankful. So,
So thankful.
how was restriction for you? Like, what, sum it up. Give me before we even get into it. Give me a
So
rating, 1 through 10.
so for me,
Yeah.
on comparatively to other people's restrictions, I would say I probably had an 8. So
Wow, it was that good for
so
you.
so restriction normally is super fucking boring because they put you in the barracks room, usually with somebody else who's restricted. And actually, little caveat to this. So whenever I got put on restriction, I got to my room. The guy who I was sharing a room with, it was Harm. So this is a guy that I had just spent a deployment with as a roommate. So me and him like very well knew each other. And then I didn't even know he was on restriction, to be honest. And then I show up and it's him in the room and I'm like, "Hey, dude, what's up?"
He was probably like,
Back
"No, get me the
Yeah,
fuck
yeah.
out."
That's exactly what his response was. It was hilarious though. But so um yeah, normally you'd be stuck in this fucking barracks room, and then at designated times they'll take you to work, they'll march you to work, and then you go do some menial tasking, go to lunch for like 30 minutes, come back to menial tasking, whatever bullshit needs to get done, they have the restricted do it.
Yep.
And then but so I only had to do that for a couple of days because after that, we went on FEX. We had our field exercise.
So
And
everyone's miserable and on watch anyway. And you're like, yeah.
yeah, but it was banging for me though because I didn't really have to do anything. Like I was so they s- and I got really lucky because a lot of times when you're on restriction and then we have to go do a field exercise, it's the same thing on the fleet side whenever we go out to sea and we have to do training exercises. Usually the common thing is they'll suspend your restriction time. You'll go do the field exercise, and then when you come back, it starts again.
Oh,
So yeah, you go from a little bit on restriction, and then it'd be suspended. You go do the field exercise, be miserable there, and then it gets reinstated when you get back. So you don't get to go home or nothing like everybody else does. But I
okay.
got lucky they didn't do that for me. So my time carried on throughout all of the FEX, but the FEX is a month long. So my entire rest of my stuff was on FEX.
Nice. I actually do remember that because you didn't have to carry a weapon. You didn't have to do anything.
Well, not have to. I wasn't allowed to
Yeah.
because yeah, like when
Yeah, they
they
were
had
afraid you were gonna take one of the Humvees and go on
yeah,
roading with it.
but it was cool because like I still could only have my phone on Sundays, which kind of sucked. But like I would sit this watch in front of the our tent, which we I was a part of. What was I part of? I think it was just a part of Bravo, but I wasn't a part of the maintenance side of it. It was like just another. I was with Chief Baxter, like whatever tent he was in. I just sat out front and checked IDs, and I made lanyards. I got really good at making lanyards though.
I made lanyards. Yeah, I actually do remember a funny story about that Fex and you in particular being on restriction. So there was you and there was one other guy that was on restriction with you, Dalton, right?
Baines, yep.
Yeah. So they said, "Hey, Harem, you got to take Baines and go fill sandbags." And I was like, "Why the fuck do I was like, all right, you know what? He's one of the homies. It won't be that bad. Like, no matter what job you get in the military, it's gonna suck. but it's the
Mm-hmm.
people that you have with you that makes it that much better, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like when you're with one of your friends, make me do whatever. I don't give a shit. I'm still gonna enjoy it because I'm with my buddy.
Yep,
So I took
exactly.
him and I said, "Yo, we need to go find like like good dirt or sand to fill these sandbags." And I had the bright idea. I said, "Yo, let's go to McClurg's tent and we'll shovel out the perfect rectangle of his like sleeping bag and we'll put his tent over it." So we moved your entire tent over to the right, dug out like what looked to be like a 6 foot hole in the ground, and put your tent perfectly back on top of it, so that when you when you jumped into your rack at the end of the night after a long fucking day of work, you were just gonna fall down into this little pit.
I do remember that. I do remember that. But I do also remember it wasn't that bad, honestly. I don't even think I
No,
moved. I don't think I moved my tent, honestly. I think I left it there.
if
I don't think
anything, we made it better because it like contorts to like your body, like it
yeah, it
formed to
sloped.
your body.
Yeah. It wasn't just hard dirt. It was like all like I had divots to actually like kind of lean into and everything. It was actually quite nice.
Then again, history does say that you can fall asleep wherever.
It does not matter.
Yeah.
Anywhere and everywhere.
Getting back to the whole sleeping part, do you remember the A school stories when you used to fall asleep?
Oh man.
give me one or
Uh,
two
uh,
ones. I want
so
from your perspective.
I remember one time. So I'm a big coffee drinker because I fall asleep so often. I have to drink a lot of coffee. So I fell asleep and the guys thought it'd be a funny idea. They bought this like mineral oil it's a natural laxative. So they put it in the pot of coffee, and it was like really sus and I still drank it. But I was like I definitely knew that they put something in it, but it was like because it's oil, so it all sat at the top of the coffee. Like it didn't mix with the coffee at all. If they wanted to be really sneaky with it, they should have got the tablets and then crushed them up and then put it in.
Yeah.
That would have been better. Um, so I still drank some of it. I didn't drink all of it because like the oil was just like coating my mouth, and I was like, mm. So I drank a little bit of it, and nothing really came of that. I mean, I got a pretty strong gullet, so
Yeah.
I didn't end up shitting my brains out like they thought or nothing. And Carnate was a part of it too, and he was my roommate, so he can attest to the fact that I didn't like my stomach wasn't like I wasn't marching in formation and fucking
Uh,
but
yeah, you just beeline down the fucking airway.
oh, I'd have left, bro. I'd have hopped out of formation so fast, bro. You'd have never seen me move quicker if that was the case.
Oh God, I'm over here tearing up,
Oh,
man.
actually, the best story I could possibly tell about me falling asleep. So we're in the last block of our A school, right? So, and it's a pretty chill. So sometimes the instructor will just like give us like a free day, and he left, and we're all chilling, bullshitting, whatever. I take a nap like I usually do, and these fucking cocksuckers decide it'd be a great idea. They tie my belt loop but there was some like rope in the class. They tied my belt loop to my chair, and then I freaking I wake up, the classroom's dark, everybody's gone. I'm like, oh fuck, these fucking assholes.
What time is it?
I'm,
Yeah.
yeah, I looked at the time. I was like, okay, it's not that bad. I'm thinking it's like fucking like 2000 or something like that, and they just left without me. I'm gonna have to walk my happy ass all the way back to the barracks and I get up like really fast because I'm like, oh, I'm scared. I gotta leave. And I pull the chair with me, and I'm like, what the fuck? So I pull out my Gerber and I fucking cut the rope, untie it from my belt loop, and then I go outside, and all these cocksuckers are out there in formation waiting for me, and I just get the biggest applause of my life.
Oh God, I remember
I
that,
think, yeah,
dude.
you were out there too,
Yeah, yeah. They came
because we went
outside and they were
together.
like, "Yo, we tied McClurg to the chair and turned off the lights, and we left him in the car." Oh my God, dude! I
Uh,
started dying. I was like, one, that is hysterical, and two, to do it to McClurg. That is one of the best stories ever. I swear, you're just not safe to sleep around military people.
never,
It was
never.
even the there was the one time, not so good of a story, but when you were you were sleeping and then everyone just started clapping
Oh
and
yeah.
you woke up and you just started clapping too.
That's a classic though. You can never go wrong with that one.
Yeah, there was one time I was in boot camp, right? And I was kind of just, dozing off. And like, I finally hit it where like, my eyes were shut and I was about to like knock the fuck out. And all of a
Hmm.
sudden I hear Harem, and it's my chief. And I woke up and I don't know where I got this instinct from, but I just made the sign of the cross and said amen. And he was like, "What the?" And I was like, "Yes, chief. I was just praying real quick." And I guess he had no choice but to believe it. But I was like,
Yeah.
oh God, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you fall asleep so easily.
Yeah, it's kind of been like that my entire life. If I had to attribute something to it, when I was about 2 years old, I got into my grandmother's nerve medication, and from obviously this story is secondhand from what I've been told that I ate quite a few of them, and it's medication to calm her nerves. And I think eating that, and like they didn't pump my stomach or nothing like that. Poison control just told them to monitor me and make sure that I was okay.
Yeah.
But I think what happened when I did that was I think I fried myself. So
Okay.
I don't know. I've not gone to any medical stuff to get it tested or anything like that. I have found like as I've gotten older, it's gotten a bit better. I still take naps and stuff like that, but like falling asleep out of nowhere, I haven't really done that since I've been out of the military.
Yeah. So what have you been doing since you got out of the military?
All right, so I got out. I left NMCB 5 in February of 22. And pretty much as soon as I left, like I got home back to Kansas on a Saturday, and that Monday I started a job.
Oh,
So
wow. No
yeah, I've been
break.
kind no
All
break.
gas. I like it.
Yeah. And so my dad hooked me up with a gig, and because he was working on a dairy farm loading milk, and he's like, "Hey, you need a job?" I'm like, "Yeah, I need a job." So all right, you start Monday. I'm like, "Oh fuck, okay." But I was supposed to come back sooner, but there was like obviously plans change all the time in the
Yeah,
military.
sempre
So
Gumby.
yeah. And so when I was supposed to come back, they had a whole like welcome home party and everything. Even my new boss like paid for like the new stuff and everything and like this whole party, but I obviously didn't show up because I couldn't leave yet.
You were sleeping.
And yeah, I was too busy asleep. And so then a couple weeks later, then I finally came back. No welcome party, but I just came back and then I started my job. And it was kind of funny because I didn't even do an application process. I just kind of showed up and just started doing the job and getting paid. Yeah, I did. I feel obviously like my financial paperwork to get
Yeah,
paid and everything.
that's the most important part.
Yeah, and it was a cool job. It was a lot of like personal responsibility because you were the only one working. Like there is no like staff or anybody to help you or like you just kind of you learn once you learned the position, how to drive the trucks, back up trailers, do all the paperwork, take samples, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Then you're pretty much just on your own. And then I worked nights too, so these were like 12-hour shifts doing that. But it was really good money and it was a good experience. I liked seeing all the cows and stuff like that and working with all the Guatemalan dudes that worked there because it was pretty much like there was probably like three or four white dudes on that entire dairy farm. Everybody else was of Hispanic origin, which
Okay.
was cool. Which was cool, but it also like there was a huge language barrier all the time. So if I needed to communicate with one of the milking supervisors, it was kind of Google Translate was our best friend. So
Go, yeah.
yeah, good guys though. I loved working with them and everything. The shifts were long, the weather kind of sucked, but it was good money and it was something to do. And then I did that for till May of this year, and then now I'm in school, back to school using my GI Bill.
Oh, what are you going to school for?
Horticulture production. So
All right,
growing pla-
Google translate that one.
So the definition of horticulture is the art and science of growing plants, essentially. Like usually like fruits, vegetables, and flowers. That's usually like the common things.
Okay.
Growing like more. like especially like the like vegetables, you're like growing onto smaller pieces of land, not like agronomy. Agronomy is like your major crops like corn, soybeans, alfalfa, hay. That's all agronomy because a large acreage of land that you're growing all that stuff on. But horticulture is more like smaller pieces of land, greenhouse work, stuff like that.
Okay. What's your ultimate end goal with this degree?
I'm still trying to figure it out. I mean, if I could get a gig overseas again, that'd be really cool. Something I would love to go back to Japan. And there is I don't say like a huge need for horticultures in Japan, but there is plenty of agriculture in Japan, and especially because it's such a small country that
Hmm.
greenhouse work is more prominent there. But even like if I went to Europe, like in the Netherlands, there's a huge like in the Netherlands, that's where the largest floral auction is in
Oh, okay.
is in the Netherlands. So like flowers will be grown all around the world, and they'll get day shipped to the Netherlands to this auction to be sold to various companies throughout the world. And then the next day they'll be flown to whatever locations wherever they get sold.
Gotcha.
So something like that would be cool. But we'll just see what the opportunities look like, and then we'll go from there. Honestly, just kind of play it by ear.
Yeah, no, good. I honestly wish the best for you. It sounds like you're very interested in it and it's something you're passionate about. So I give you, all the luck in the world. Is
Yeah.
there any advice you have for not only me, but for anyone else listening into using your GI Bill?
Oh, into using the GI Bill? Mm, I would say definitely do your research on the different varieties. Like, so anybody who's wanting to join the military, when you join, you get an option when you're in boot camp to opt in for the Montgomery GI Bill, which is slightly different than the post 9/11. Now, the Montgomery is really good for like trade schools and like stuff of that variety. But if you're going to like the more traditional school, like university route, then the post 9/11 because of the BAH and stuff, like you have to just look at your numbers and see what kind of pays out better.
Hmm.
And because the Montgomery pays to you, the post 9/11 pays to the university. So, but you
Gotcha.
have, but the only time you can opt into it is at in boot camp because
Oh, okay.
and that one you do have to pay into, but you only pay into it for the first year, I think it is. And but the benefit to the Montgomery, even if you sign, because I signed up for the Montgomery when I first, because there is no downside to it because you sign up for it, you pay into it for the year, and then once you've done the year, you're done paying into it. That's it. Um, but you can always revert back to the post 9/11. But from the post 9/11, you cannot revert to the Montgomery.
Kind of like TSP wise with the blended and tradition.
Yeah,
Okay, I got you.
yeah. Once you choose, like, so you opt in for the Montgomery, and if you end up deciding, because that's how I was, I opted in for the Montgomery, but then I realized, okay, I'm gonna go to a traditional university, so I'm gonna do the post 9/11 instead. So I just opted in to do the post 9/11.
Okay,
Or
that's something that's something I've never heard of. Okay, thank you. Dope, dope. So honestly, man, it sounds like you kind of got things figured out. As soon as you got out of the military, you didn't sit around and, like most people sometimes do. You kind of just
yeah,
jumped right into it and you're actually doing something with it.
yeah.
You're going to school. Have you tried to go through the VA? Maybe they can help with your whole sleep problem or anything?
No, I mean, I personally have never, besides the DUI thing, I've never personally viewed the sleep thing as a problem. It's more of a funny haha thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
And
yeah, you. Yeah.
it's also like knowing the limitations of your own body of like
Okay.
I know I can feel whenever like I'm getting tired and like especially like I've made plenty of long drives and driving fatigue can like hit anybody. It doesn't matter if you have a sleeping problem like I do or if you're just a regular person. Like driving for a long period of time, you get sleepy, you kind of get dozy. So you just got to know like the limits of your body. You feel tired, you stop, you get out, smoke a cigarette, pop a couple Zins, have an energy drink, cup of coffee, whatever, whatever your routine is, whatever you got to do.
You still
And
got that
so,
military mentality, huh? Caffeine,
yeah,
nicotine.
till the day I die, baby. Till
Yeah.
my heart gets out. I get some heart palpitations. I'm like, oh, is today the day?
Yeah.
No, not quite.
Maybe I need another monster.
Yeah, that's kind of the it's a funny meme of the military, or not just military, but even just blue collar side, construction workers, whatever, like
That's just
consuming.
that's just how it goes. That's like the day to day. You have your
Yeah,
cup of coffee in the morning, your monster at lunch,
yeah,
and a whole bunch of nicotine in between.
yeah. It's also like getting on a proper sleep schedule is very important. Like sleep is like the foundation of your being. Like you need to be well rested for to do things.
Yeah,
And
everyone
that's one
says
thing.
like a full 8 hours, but some people, even I kind of agree, like 8 hours is probably too much sleep.
Yeah, it just depends. I mean, because as you get older too, like when you're younger, you need more sleep. As you get older, you need less sleep. But we all still need proper rest. And like even like so like with sleep, I've noticed for me like even like just like a little cat nap here and there, just kind of a refresher. But there's like gate like a threshold, like because if you sleep too long, then you wake up super groggy. If you sleep too little, then it's like you didn't do anything at all. It's like getting good sleep, that good like where you're actually well rested, not like you wake up groggy. And then also drinking enough water is a huge thing too.
Definitely.
Gotta stay hydrated.
Yeah. Well,
Can't just be energy drinks anymore
oh no, even though
and
hey, there
coffee.
there is water in them, right? I mean, that's kind of how they do.
Yeah, yeah, that's what they say.
Well, Ryan, before I do let you go back to sleep, just one piece of advice for everyone listening, thinking about joining the military, currently in the military. Any advice you have for these people?
Probably two things. One is more of a general thing. One is probably more specific to the military. First one, probably listen more, talk less. That's a huge thing. Listen to what people are saying around you, and then also it helps you figure out who's around you and really listen to what people are saying because what they're saying might not be actually what they're meaning.
Yep.
Second thing would be just kind of do your research for if you're wanting to join the military, know what your rates actually do. Go onto online forums and see like what people say about the culture and the climate of your rate. And another thing for advancement, see what the availability of the groups are. Like find because if you want to advance quickly in the military, you have to obviously do the proper things when you join, but also like see like where your rate stands, like percentage wise of like the people that are in the rate. Like if there's like a lot of like E7s, E6s, then pretty soon those guys are going to retire. And once they retire, everything else below that is going to open wide up. So kind of finding those like points of like, okay, now's the time I should join because your percentages will be opened up to be able to advance quicker, be able to take your tests, and the percentages will be better for you when you take your tests.
Gotcha. Ryan, thank you very much for giving us your time, man. It's been great catching up with you. It's been good talking to you, man.
Yeah, it's good seeing you, man. We gotta keep in touch more.
Hell yeah, man. I wish you the best and everything. I hope school like really does something good for you, man. It seems like you're very excited about it. You're very happy with it, and I wish nothing but the best.
Appreciate it, buddy. You too.
Thank you, Ryan. Until next time, guys. Fighting for freedom, baby.
Every day.
The views presented are those of the speaker, and the guest do not necessarily represent the views of the Department of Defense or its components. Neither the Department of Defense or its components bears any responsibility for the accuracy, legality, or content of the views discussed on this podcast. Now, without further ado, let's get into this.